Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 175th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. This will be a midweek bonus battle. As I've got this week off from work, I thought I'd put a battle on midweek for you to hopefully enjoy. The team I'm in today consists of RTW player Scorpion King SR. He's called himself Hero in this game, but it is Scorpion King SR, and he's bought the Egyptian faction. Unusual faction to bring to 31k battlefield. And then we have myself, Spartan Commander, who has bought the Rome SPQR faction. And then we have Brotherhood member Sacred. He's called himself Free France in this game, but it is Brotherhood member Sacred. I know that Scorpion King, myself and Sacred have been playing Rome Total War since it first came out, so we've certainly got quite a lot of RTW experience between us, but you wait till you see the other team. It's got the ingredients to be an absolutely great battle. I thought at this stage of the battle we'd have a look at Scorpion King SR's Egyptian army. As you can see, he's got the Pharaoh pikemen there, or the Pharaoh guards there, and they've got quite good upgrades on. They're pretty good infantry. The Egyptian factions, the units in the Egyptian faction are quite cheap, so you can put good upgrades on them if you want. And then we have the Egyptian heavy chariots. Now these chariots are pretty good. You can see the spikes on the wheels, or scythes on the wheels there. These chariots don't run amok, so they're pretty good chariots to use these. As we've seen in other battle videos, chariots that run amok are a menace to both friend and foe alike, but these chariots won't do that. And then he has the Pharaoh bowmen. Now I'd just like to draw your attention to the upgrades on these Pharaoh bowmen. They are maxed out. 9 upgrades on those. So these guys are tough archers. When they run out of arrows, they're so tough you can use them as light infantry. That's how good these archers are. But with those upgrades on, the penetration of their arrows and the distance, I think they're going to be very formidable archers there. I see he's got 6 units of those. And there's some more heavy Egyptian chariots there, and I believe he's got 2 units of chariot archers, which are here. If you notice that the riders in the chariots have got 2 of them have got bows, and of course then you've got the driver of the chariot as well. So I think looking at this Egyptian army, it looks quite formidable, especially those maxed out Pharaoh bowmen. It'll be interesting to see how well this army does against good Roman generals. We are up against really good Roman generals, so hopefully it'll be an interesting one for you to watch. And here is the other team. We have Heaven's Biscuits, who has bought the Rome Scipii faction. And then we have IOW ESRAX, who has bought the Rome Scipii faction as well. And then we have the very experienced RTW player Wolves XARGA, who has bought the Rome Julii faction. So there's a team we're facing. As I said, it's a pretty good team. It should be a great one for you to watch. At this very early stage of the battle, you can see that Scorpion King SR is bringing his chariot archers out. To our right flank here. Remember, chariot archers, they move very fast, and they're quite effective with their arrows as well. And he's also bringing out his fully upgraded Pharaoh bowmen here as well. Remember the upgrades we saw on them. So their actual range and the damage they do is quite phenomenal, really. And as I say, those archers are so tough they can be used as light infantry when they run out of arrows. That just goes to show how tough they are. Okay, can you see how Biscuits now is running his army over to his allies? But of course he's showing his flank and his rear to Scorpion King's archers here, both chariot and foot archers. So Biscuits going to be suffering a lot of casualties there as he's moving. Meanwhile, back to the other part of the battlefield here, you can see that Biscuits there is charging some cavalry over to try and take out the other archers there, but both Scorpion King bringing his spearmen forward, plus my cavalry moving over there, has stopped that attack onto those archers. And meanwhile, those archers are starting to fire at those cavalry that came over to try and take them out there, so they've suffered casualties as well. just pause the game here for stock of the situation. As I say, Biscuits was running his army over to there. Can you see just here, there's a few casualties that he suffered already, just running his army over to his allies there. Scorpion King's foot archers and those chariot archers that have caused his army a lot of casualties there as they've been running over. So, as I say, bringing Egypt to the 31k battlefield is unusual, but I think Scorpion King's made a good start here. He's caused this Biscuits army here a lot of casualties with his with those archers that he's bought. Here's a close-up of those. Can you see the amount of arrows that are going into Biscuits' units? And of course, as his infantry's moving, when units move, they suffer even more damage from arrows. So not only is he being hit by those 6 maxed Pharaoh bowmen, but also he's getting hit by those chariot archers as well from behind, if you notice up there. And here you see, can you see he's starting to charge his cavalry towards those Pharaoh bowmen there. He'd like to take them out if he can. But if you notice, I've taken my cavalry over there, and I believe that Sacred's taken his cavalry over there as well to cover those bowmen. And if you notice there that Scorpion King put alt attack on those bowmen there to actually, probably his idea there was to try and hold those cavalry there when our cavalry moved in to take them out. So it was a nice little move there by Scorpion King. As I say, these bowmen are so tough you can use them as light infantry. So that was a nice little move there by Scorpion King. But I think Biscuits' army here on this this right flank of ours has suffered absolutely loads of casualties from those Pharaoh bowmen and the chariots there. Okay, let's move over to the left flank here. You can see at the moment there's not a lot going on the left flank. If you notice there that Brotherhood member Sacred is moving his SPQR army back on the left flank there. And of course, moving his army back, I've then got to move mine back, otherwise I will find my army flanked. So we're moving back here. I remember when we played this game, I thought we were moving back a little bit too much, and I did say that, and then we decided to make a stand. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when we do that. Meanwhile, over here on the right flank, you can see that there's still the Pharaoh pikemen are moving forward then to engage Biscuits' Scipii army there. And over on the right, you can see a lot of Scorpion King's chariots, plus you can see a lot of Sacred's cavalry over here on the right. So there's a lot of cover for the bowmen, and all the time those fully upgraded bowmen are firing arrow after arrow into Biscuits' Scipii army there on this right flank of ours. So as I say, these bowmen are tough anyway, but when you fully upgrade them, that makes them even better. So I would think myself that let's say Biscuits has lost a heck of a lot of men on this right flank. As you can see here, it's moving forward here, probably with a view to try and flank my army. And if you notice that Scorpion King, as I said earlier, is bringing his pikemen forward to engage. And as you can see, Sacred's pulled back just behind my army there. So there's a general disposition of the battle at this stage. Let's see what happens next. If you notice, I'm moving my SPQR army back in the centre as Scorpion King SR moves his pikemen forward there to engage the enemy Scipii infantry there. If you notice, just as Scorpion King SR's pikemen engage the Scipii infantry, he's also bringing in his chariots from behind as well, plus there's Sacred's cavalry out there as well. So the amount of casualties they're inflicting on that enemy Scipii army there is quite enormous, really, I think. I see Biscuits has put a lot of his units now into Testudo, which is a good thing to do. That's a good defensive formation there. As you see, both Sacred's cavalry and the chariots smash into those the infantry. Remember that those chariots actually have got a scare factor, and they spread panic amongst the enemy army as well there. So there's a heck of a lot going on there at the moment. If you notice, I'm moving my SPQR army forward to support the Egyptian chariots and Sacred's cavalry going in there as well, and to support those Egyptian pikemen in there as well. So there's a lot going on this right flank. I'm just thinking to myself, looking at this, whoever wins the battle on this right flank, I think this could be a pivotal part of the battle. And as I say, whoever wins it, they could well go on to win the whole battle here. If you notice that the Egyptian archers, the foot archers there, are just kind of being left by the enemy to fire loads and loads of arrows into their flank. I think maybe a lot of players watching this might have made a big effort to try and take those archers out, because they are killing a lot of the enemy team there. In fact, I think, looking at the battle at the moment, I think that most of BISCUITS' Scipii army now has actually been taken out by archer fire. Those chariots hits, the cavalry hits, and are moving our infantry forward as well. So, let's say, I think most of BISCUITS' Scipii army that was on the right flank have been taken out there. But there's still a lot of enemy cavalry left at the back, if you notice there. Can you see these archers, these Pharaoh archers here? Do you think that if you were in charge of that Julii cavalry, you'd have charged them into those archers just to kind of take out as many as you can? Because at the moment, those bowmen there, they've got kind of they're very free to just fire loads and loads of arrows into the flanks and the rear of those Scipii infantry there. Okay, at the moment they're targeting that cavalry that was coming towards them, but as I say, maybe players watching this, you might well have targeted these Pharaoh bowmen to try and take them out, because at the moment, when they start firing fire arrows into the enemy, lowering the morale as well as causing casualties, that's going to be even more dangerous for the enemy team. So maybe it might have been a good idea to take those bowmen out. As you can see, the enemy's still got two very powerful armies left, Scipii army and the Julii army there. So by no means is this battle been sorted out yet. There's still a heck of a lot to do there. There, can you see Scorpion King charging his a chariot unit into the flank of those enemy Scipii infantry there? As I say, remember, it's not just the damage that they do, it's the scare factor that they've got. And once again, can you see these Pharaoh bowmen? They've just got so much freedom on the battlefield to fire arrows into the flank of the enemy army there. So, as I say, as I said a couple of occasions now, maybe on reflection, it might have been better to have tried to have taken them out. Even if they'd lost their cavalry, maybe it might have been worth it to take out those archers there. Right, if you notice here, Sacred's charging cavalry units in and infantry units that he's moved around the flank into the side of these enemy Scipii infantry. Nice tactical move there. New players watching this, remember, it's not all about banging on the front door, trying to go in through the front door. If you can get infantry around the flanks and hit them at the flank, or even get in behind them and attack them from there, that's the best way to progress. If you notice, I'm moving my SPQR army forward, but over to the right flank there. Can you see? I'm moving over to the right flank there with my SPQR army. Just pause the game here for us to take stock of the situation. Let's say here you can see that Sacred's moved his some cavalry and infantry units round to the right flank, obviously with a view to charging into that enemy Scipii infantry's flank there. If you notice, the enemy have still got a lot of cavalry left, but they're being picked off by those Pharaoh bowmen all the time. If you notice, the arrows have been going into them a lot. Meanwhile, over on our left flank here, you can see that Sacred's facing the enemy Julii army there. As you can see, the enemy Julii army is basically still intact. Whereas a lot of our units that have been fighting a lot over in the centre and over on that right flank they'll be tired by now, I would think. But I've noticed that these units facing Julii that Sacred got there, obviously they haven't been in combat, so they'll be as fresh. But just to say, you can see here now that my SPQR army's moved over to the right. As you can see, Sacred's infantry, 3 units of infantry there. He's moving in. If you've noticed, I've taken my cavalry out to the right as well. with a view to charge into the flank of that enemy Scipii army there. As you can see there, you can see that Sacred took his infantry round behind that Scipii army, as well as charging his cavalry in. Right, can you see my cavalry now? I'm going to charge for that Scipii general. See the blue Scipii general? Remember, if we can take him out, then we can lower the morale of all his army. And as my cavalry hits, it's going in, and bang! As that cavalry hits. And as I say, we're going for that Scipii general there. As you see in other battle videos, if we can kill that Scipii general, then we will lower the morale of all his troops, which is something that we wanted to do there. Scipii general still holding well. Oh no, he's just routed just that second. Over on our left flank here, you can see that the enemy Julii army is starting to attack our SPQR ally there over on the left. So it'd be interesting to see what actually happens there over on the left when it actually gets going. But over on the right flank here, you can see that basically we've taken out the most of the right flank and the centre of the enemy formation there, and are now moving over to our left flank there to try and take out the enemy Julii team, that's army that's left there. If you notice, the enemy Julii general now has turned his army to face the threat that's coming over from our right flank over towards him. And also, if you notice here, he's charging his cavalry into one of Sacred's SPQR units there. And he's successfully routed that unit as well there. But if you notice now, Sacred's sending his infantry to fight that cavalry. And do you remember what we said in other battle videos? When you have got cavalry fighting infantry, it's always best to pull your cavalry out. Don't leave them fighting there. If you notice here in the centre, I've charged my SPQR cavalry into the enemy Julii infantry there. Obviously with a view to try and rout several of those Julii units there. Right, if you notice now, the Julii cavalry has pulled back from that melee where it was fighting with the infantry. Remember, once the infantry starts to attack your cavalry, you should pull out as soon as you can, because the infantry will usually beat you. And also, can you see still the arrows coming in from those bowmen onto the enemy cavalry as well? Right, a nice little move here by Sacred. If you notice, he's brought his SPQR infantry up behind the enemy Julii infantry there. Nice move there by Sacred. New players watching this, as I said earlier, you don't have to bang through the front door, you don't have to knock down the front door to go in. Try and get units around the rear and the flank. That's the best tactical way to play this game if you can. As you can see, there's still a lot of Julii cavalry left there. Right, let's just pause the game for a second. As I say, you can see the Julii cavalry there. All the time they've been whittled down though by the Pharaoh bowmen. As you can see, there's a lot of Julii infantry left here, but with Sacred's tactical move of bringing his infantry up round the flank. If you notice, I was holding his infantry at the front with my infantry there, keeping him occupied there while Sacred took his infantry round the flank there. So as you can see now, there's a lot of engagement going on there. If you notice, I've got my cavalry set at the back there, ready to charge in when I'm ready. If you notice, I've started my cavalry off. And bang, as that cavalry hits. See, it's gone into tired, weakened Julii infantry units there, so it's caused them, a lot of those units, to rout there with the impact of that cavalry. And now they've just, as you see, I just forced the cavalry on through, and because those units were already battle damaged and weakened there, the cavalry charge seems to have helped to rout a lot of the the Julii forces there. If you look over the battlefield, you can see that it's quite a spread out kill zone, if you like. There's a few places where the fighting was quite intense, but if you look all over the battlefield, you see it is quite spread out, where a lot of little battles are going on. Plus, you've got to remember that a heck of a lot of the enemy were being killed by archer fire as well, and there's still all those bowmen left, if you notice there, those Pharaoh archers. So it's very unusual to see an Egyptian army brought to the 31k battlefield, so well done to Scorpion King for bringing that. And he played that army extremely well there against three good Roman generals there. So as I said, well done to Scorpion King there with that Egyptian army. As you can see there, we're just taking out the last of the Julii enemy Julii units there. I think I can see there's about two Julii units left, and that's about it. I thought the enemy team played quite well there. Oh, right. Just like to say, really well played to both teams there. I thought everybody in the game played extremely well, and just like to highlight Scorpion King hero there. If you notice there, I think bringing an Egyptian army to the 31k battlefield against 3 good Roman generals was quite a brave thing to do, and really well played to Scorpion King there. I thought he played that Egyptian army extremely well, so well done to him. But I'd like to say really well done to BISCUITS, ESRAX and XARGA on the other team as well. I thought they played extremely well. The only thing I would say is possibly maybe have taken out those Pharaoh archers as soon as they could. Probably on reflection they probably agree with that, but really well played to them, and really well played to Sacred as well. I thought his tactics, the way he moved his infantry and cavalry, was extremely well played by him. So I hope you enjoyed the battle. This is Spartan Commander saying this is a midweek bonus battle, and bye for now.